There comes a time in every soul's journey when silence becomes a scream, a moment when the whisper beneath the noise rises like a storm from the deep. That moment is now. It's time to say no more. Not in anger, not in blame, but in truth. We were not born to be prisoners of patterns. We were not created to wear masks until we forget the shape of our own face. The soul did not enter this life to sleep through its own awakening. There is a place within each of us that we were taught to avoid, a hidden chamber behind the polished mirror of our personality where the rejected parts of ourselves live, the anger we were punished for, the grief we never had permission to feel, the wildness we were told to cage, and so we pushed them down. We called them too much, too loud, too emotional. We labeled them weakness. We buried them with smiles and silence. We pretended they didn't exist, but what is buried alive does not die. It waits, it festers, it grows teeth in the dark. We call it sabotage, we call it anxiety, we call it failure or fate, but it is the shadow and it is begging to be seen. The shadow is not evil. It is simply the part of you that never felt safe enough to be loved. It is your hurt child, your silenced artist, your primal scream, your sacred no that was never spoken. And until it is faced, it will show up in your life in the most inconvenient ways. You'll see it in the relationships that drain you, where you become who you think they want instead of who you are. You'll feel it in the moments you say yes, while your body is screaming no. You'll encounter it in the rage that comes from nowhere, or the shame that follows you like a ghost. We spend our lives running from the darkness within, forgetting that every monster we flee is a part of our soul that has been starved of light. The wound is the place where the light enters, yes, but only if we dare to touch the wound. The shadow does not seek to destroy us. It seeks to complete us, to make us whole, but wholeness is not light without dark. It is the marriage of both. We are not here to transcend our humanity. We are here to embody it, fully, fiercely, honestly, to sit with the parts we were told to hate, to listen to the voice we've silenced for years, to offer compassion to the places we were taught to judge, and this takes courage, not the loud, dramatic kind, but the quiet, daily kind. The courage to feel what you've avoided, to say what you were never allowed to say, to choose yourself even when your conditioning begs you not to. Because until the shadow is seen, it rules us. Until we say, I see you, I hear you, you're part of me, we will never truly be free. There is a mask you wear not made of cloth or paint, but made of survival. You put it on long before you knew what it meant to lie, long before you had language for fear, long before anyone told you how to be. You learned it by watching, by absorbing, by being punished for your truth and rewarded for your performance. This mask, this persona, became the passport that let you move through the world. You learned to smile when you wanted to scream. You learned to be agreeable, polite, charming even when your soul was suffocating. You became who they needed you to be so you wouldn't be left behind. But something in you was left behind, and now, even in a room full of people, you feel unseen. Even when praised, you feel hollow. Even when surrounded, you feel alone, because the mask was never made to carry your soul. The persona is a costume worn so long, you began to mistake it for your skin. You forgot that beneath it lived something far more sacred, far more wild, far more honest. You forgot the shape of your real face. You see, the persona doesn't just protect you from the world, it also protects the world from you. Your truth, your intensity, your complexity, the inconvenient, unedited, uncontrollable parts of you. But truth does not die in silence. It waits, and eventually it claws its way to the surface, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. There comes a point where pretending becomes poison, where peace becomes performance, where your laughter sounds foreign in your own throat. There comes a moment when the soul begins to rebel, not with fists, but with fatigue, not with fire, but with quiet refusal. You stop showing up where you're unseen. You stop smiling when you're hurting. You stop adjusting yourself like a piece of furniture in someone else's home. And this is not a breakdown, this is the beginning of liberation. Because the truth is, the persona was never meant to be a prison. It was a bridge, a necessary mask to survive a world that wasn't ready for your essence. But survival is not the same as freedom. There is a self beneath the mask, older than your wounds, wiser than your roles, truer than your titles. A self that doesn't care about being understood, only about being real. A self that would rather be rejected for its truth than accepted for its imitation. That self is knocking, not with violence, but with a whisper that grows louder every time you betray it. A whisper that says, "Enough, let them meet me now, let them meet the real one, the flawed one, the sacred one, the whole one." Because liberation is not becoming someone else. It is unbecoming everything you are not. Have you ever wondered why the same pain keeps finding you? Why the same story shows up in different costumes? The same heartbreak with a different face? The same betrayal wrapped in new words? The same loneliness hiding in relationships that once felt like home? This isn't coincidence. This isn't punishment. This is the soul's curriculum. Life is not random. It is ritual. And what we do not resolve, we are destined to repeat. Not because we are broken, but because we are being invited to remember. The soul is a patient teacher. It will keep bringing us the lesson until we are brave enough to stop blaming the characters and start reading the script. We think we're cursed. We say things like, "Why does this always happen to me?" But the truth is, the pattern is sacred. It is not there to torment you, it is there to awaken you. Until the pattern is seen, it will persist. Until the wound is felt, it cannot be healed. Until the choice is made from truth, it will be made from fear. The same story plays on repeat because the soul knows exactly what it needs to grow, and comfort is not always part of the equation. Sometimes the lesson returns louder, more intense, more obvious, because your silence is no longer protection, it's prolonging the pain. You were not meant to spend your life circling the same emotional drain. You were meant to rise, to recognize, to rewrite, but rewriting begins with seeing, with asking not, "Why is this happening to me?" but "What is this trying to teach me? Who do I become when I stop betraying myself just to be loved? Who do I attract when I stop seeking validation through sacrifice? Who do I become when I finally interrupt the cycle? Because every no more you say to a pattern is an initiation into your power. You are not the victim of your story. You are the author of your healing, and the moment you begin to notice the loop, you are no longer lost in it. The ex who mirrors your father, the job that drains you like your childhood home, the silence that feels like safety but tastes like fear, these are not random. They are symbols, they are echoes, they are mirrors held up to your soul, asking, will you choose differently this time? Will you answer the call, or silence it again in the name of peace? Will you step toward freedom, or wrap the familiar pain around you like a blanket? There is no judgment here, only awareness. Awareness is the doorway. It's what turns a pattern into a teacher, and once something is seen, it cannot be unseen. There comes a moment in every soul's journey when the map you were given at birth no longer leads to anything that feels like home. You reach a threshold, and beyond it, no one can walk with you, not because they don't love you, but because they cannot hear the sound that is calling you from within. This is the call to become yourself. Not the self they applauded, not the self they expected, not the self you created to keep peace, but the self that whispers to you in dreams, the one you abandoned to be accepted, the one you buried beneath approval and performance. This is the call to individuation, to step out of the collective noise and into the singular truth of your being. It is not a comfortable path. It is not paved with praise or ease. It often begins in the dark, in the confusion, in the ache, in the collapse of what used to work. Your roles begin to feel like cages. Your relationships start to reveal their cost. The things you used to reach for now feel heavy in your hands. You start to see that the life you built may have been built to please others, but it was not built to hold your soul. And so the unraveling begins, not all at once, but quietly. The smile fades faster. The yes it catches in your throat. The laughter doesn't come as easily, because something deep inside is stirring and it refuses to be silenced. You begin to sense that there is something sacred in the parts of you you've always feared, something holy in the parts you've rejected. You start to feel that wholeness will never be found in perfection, but only in integration. You start to wonder what would happen if you stopped fixing yourself and started listening to yourself. You begin to crave something real, not polished, not filtered, just true. You find yourself less interested in being liked and more committed to being free. The path narrows, the mirrors change, you lose people, you lose identities, you lose certainty, but what you gain is yourself, and not the self they named for you, but the self that existed before you were taught who to be. You begin to make choices that don't make sense to the world, but make peace in your bones. You begin to trust the quiet, knowing that doesn't scream for validation. You begin to speak in a voice that quivers, but is your own. Because this is what it means to become, to no longer be a copy, to no longer be an echo, to no longer ask for permission to exist. This is what it means to walk your own myth, to live your own story, to return to your soul. It's not about fixing your life. It's about stepping into your life with nothing but your essence as your compass. Because beneath the layers, beneath the labels, beneath the fear, there is a you that has never been lost, only waiting. Waiting to be chosen, waiting to be remembered, waiting to be lived. There is a holy word that many were never taught to speak. No, not the angry no, not the reactive no, but the sacred no, the no that comes from deep within, spoken not in defiance, but in devotion. Devotion to your energy, devotion to your peace, devotion to the truth of your being. Boundaries are not walls built from bitterness. They are doors forged from clarity. They are not punishments for others, they are permissions for you. Permission to rest, permission to feel, permission to no longer abandon yourself in the name of being good, because somewhere along the way you were taught that love means sacrifice, that kindness means tolerance, that worth means being available even when you are empty. But let this be known, love is not erasure. Kindness does not mean saying yes to what hurts you. Compassion does not mean remaining where your soul withers. Every time you say yes when your spirit says no, you make a small offering of yourself to an altar that never feeds you, and slowly you disappear, until one day you cannot remember what peace feels like. You cannot remember what you truly want. You cannot remember who you are when no one is watching. This is where the sacred work begins, the resurrection, the reclamation, the moment you draw a line not to keep the world out, but to call your soul back in. A boundary is not a weapon, it is a prayer. It says, "This is how I honor myself. This is how I teach the world to treat me. This is how I stay close to what is holy within me." And yes, some will not like it. Some will call you selfish. Some will withdraw when you no longer bend. Let them. You are not here to be digestible. You are not here to shrink to fit. You are here to hold the fullness of who you are without apology. Boundaries are sacred not because they separate, but because they clarify. They create the space where honesty can live, where energy can regenerate, where truth can rise to the surface without fear of being silenced. You begin to realize you don't have to attend every battle you're invited to. You don't have to explain what your body already knows. You don't have to stay just because you once said yes. You begin to see that no is a complete sentence and yes becomes a sacred offering only when it comes from alignment, not obligation. A boundary is not about eggs. It's about embodiment. It is the line where you say, "This is where I end and the world begins. This is where my breath returns. This is where my truth lives." It is the threshold between distortion and clarity, the passage between being consumed and being complete. And when you honor it, you are not pushing people away, you are inviting only those who can meet you with reverence. Because love without respect is not love. Presence without safety is not connection. Giving without boundary is not generosity, it is martyrdom in disguise. And you were not born to be a martyr for other people's comfort. You were born to be a steward of your own light. So draw the line, not with rage, but with remembering, not with guilt, but with grace. Not to close the world out, but to finally, truly let yourself in.